Welcome everyone. Are we on?
Yes.
Welcome everyone.
Oh, your voice is on.
Now I'm on. Welcome everyone. The City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City will meet in a special meeting in City Hall Council Chambers located at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Now establish a quorum. Roll call from my left, please.
Burns here.
Evans here.
Jacobs here.
Henson here. Edwards here.
We have a quorum. Citizens' comments. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551007, members of the public may speak on any topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and no action may be taken by the council. Any response from a member of the City Council to non-agenda comments is limited to a statement of specific factual information, a recitation of existing policy, or direction to staff for follow-up. We have Monica Damiano. I'm sorry, it is Mr. Damiano. I apologize.
I'm trying to do this my way. I apologize. I appreciate your time today. I'm here on behalf of the EDC, which I'm no longer a member of. I have been on the EDC from 2013 straight through off and on for the past, ever since we've been out here. I have had the pleasure of serving on functional EDCs and dysfunctional EDCs. One of the things that happened many years ago was that Davis Gaines decided to flip the EDC and put it under control of the City Council, which I have really no objections to the City Council being involved, and they should be involved. But what I'm getting at is that it may be time, and while flipping it at the time seemed like a good idea, and there were some extenuating circumstances that made it seem like a good idea. If you look back on it historically, it probably wasn't. The EDC is a very different organization from the City Council. The skill set that's required or desired to be on the EDC is very different from the City Council. The EDC is a sales and marketing organization. It is. That's its job. That's its only job. It's a marketing organization for the city of Gun Barrel City. And as such, it requires a different mentality, a different viewpoint, a different mentality of the board members that are on there. The EDC used to pick its own board members. That went away when it got flipped. There are a number of reasons that have changed the landscape on this. The EDC currently has a full-time, fully qualified, experienced executive director, something that many years ago the EDC did not have. Okay, that's a big deal. Okay, I have talked to the gentleman; he's a sales and marketing guy, which I just love to see. Flipping it back to the way it used to be will save time. It will negate the ability, the necessity of the EDC having to ask permission, and I'm sorry, that's a lousy way to phrase it, but I talk the way I think, so I can't help that. To ask permission every time they want to do something, whether it's attend a conference, spend some money for advertising, or whatever. I do think the City Council and the EDC need to work closely. They need to talk. They need to have strategic planning meetings. They need to understand what each one is doing and what each one desires. The EDC currently has a good board. They have people that are intelligent. They have people that are apparently desirous of making changes to the city and making it better. The EDC can become more efficient if it gets flipped back to the way it was. Okay. I'm not rambling. I'm just losing my voice. That's okay. You've got a good EDC. You've probably got one of the better EDCs that you've had in a long time. I would seriously consider turning it back to the way it used to be, making it an independent organization, making it an organization that succeeds or fails on its own activities. Thank you. Is that for me? Okay. Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Damiano, for speaking tonight and for your service. Number 4, economic development. We will now move at this time from the dais down to the tables and begin our discussion and direction on the economic development priorities.
Is there a seating chart here? No seating chart. Okay. Where should I sit?
I'm just placing this down here.
This guy here.
The recommendation.
Is there anybody here who doesn't speak loudly?
Rita,
Okay.
as she laughs over there.
All right.
You just
Mr.
turn it over
Allen,
to me.
it's all
This is the
yours, sir.
first time I've been down here. So, the purpose of tonight is basically to get an understanding of where this council sees the EDC moving as far as, short-term priorities, longer-term priorities, governance of the organization, just the day-to-day runnings of the organization, anything we're missing, anything that we should be focused on that we're not. And the basis for this starts back with the 2020 comp plan. We sent that out in part of the packet, right? You got chapter 6, which focused on economic development. And rather than sit here and present, I want to preserve as much time for conversation as we can. I'm going to run through just the very 30,000-foot view of that as I understand it. Which is basically just a philosophical document. It doesn't talk about strategies, tactics, implementation. It's just the philosophy of Gun Barrel City when it comes to economic development. I wrote down here that it was used as a tool to strengthen the quality of life here while preserving Gun Barrel City's character. Okay? And it defines the character as a lake-oriented, small-town destination. The core themes of it were to grow the economy without sacrificing the community character or pace of life, as was defined in the document. And they called that balanced growth. It talks about leveraging Cedar Creek Lake, the recreation, tourism as competitive advantages for our area, and teasing out and identifying us as a destination community as well. To build the economy with diversity, meaning retail, industrial, residential, light industrial, and then supporting a healthy entrepreneurial environment here. And then growing and retaining the businesses we've already got by prioritizing them, and recruiting new employers. And then it calls out something that I've never been a part of, but it was incremental, intentional development, which makes a lot of sense, but I've never approached the job that way, as incremental. I'm not a very patient person when it comes to that. I want to go kill something right now. Let's see. So we can move on from that. So that was the basis for the strategy for economic development, supposed to carry Gun Barrel City for 21 years, I think, is what that plan is designed for. Then they came back and they put together the 2024 strategic plan update. Because I don't have a long history here or even the institutional knowledge, I'm not even sure who was in charge of putting this together. I'm assuming it was council and EDC together, but it doesn't really matter. It exists as more of a sharpened, focused, near-term priority document that takes the strategic plan and actually tries to put it into action. Emphasizes execution and accountability based on the philosophy that's outlined in the comp plan. It calls out some focus areas for what was then the next 18 months, which I think we're winding up now: business retention and expansion, small business support, festivals and events, and workforce development. And then the longer 3-year emphasis about light industrial growth, building up a retail strategy, expanding broadband, regional partnerships, and then increasing marketing and visibility. It set up the organization is very, what I wrote down here is committee-driven and action-oriented approach to economic development rather than director-driven approach, which is more what I'm used to and what I think y'all hired me for. So what we want to do tonight is just try to refocus the priorities, get some alignment between the council directing me, taking that information back to the board, and hopefully as we leave here, they are the first line guardrails for accountability for this position. Okay, y'all are the ultimate accountability for it. And I'm looking for some guidance. You know, we talked about through the interview process about coming back together at about this time, so we're about 90 days in, coming back together, seeing how things are going, refocusing, and kind of pushing me out the door and seeing where gravity takes us. Met with the board last week, and Keith Bond is here in the audience, can add some more color if y'all wanted to fold him into the discussion around their thoughts about this. Went through the same process last week in a little bit different way. I compiled that information and sent that out yesterday. And so hopefully y'all had a chance just to look over that. It was a pretty short document. And then I also sent out last week a guide with some questions. And so hopefully the rest of this session will be going through that guide and getting your thoughts around the questions, and then I won't be able to hold my own thoughts in. You know, I haven't been here even as short as I am, as short a tenure as I've had. I've got some ideas. I mean, I've got some thoughts. And so I want to get those out, and then I need some guidance as well. We have an agenda item even tonight that hopefully the board made their action, but I'm going to bring it to y'all and open up a discussion around it. But maybe we can get some clarity that sheds light on that item in this workshop. So, any questions? Anybody want to jump off?
The first question I had, you just mentioned, I just looked to make sure I didn't miss it. You said you sent out an email last week with questions. Did you send it to us, or was that sent from them?
I think Janet sent it as
Okay,
part
well, you
of the
said you,
packet.
so I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't get anything from you.
Proxy.
I did yesterday.
Proxy.
But that's fine, but I just want to make sure I didn't miss something else.
So I mean.
I think that's what we have. I have it here. I think.
Okay, yep. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, then I had that. And I just want to make sure there wasn't anything else I missed. So,
And so again, it just talks about the purpose of the workshop, whatever material I was going to send to you. And then it just starts us off. Like, you know, if you look at the 2020 comp plan, what principles in there remain foundational? What do we like about the comp plan? That's a question for the group here. So,
anybody? Nobody? It's tough.
I'd like to say one thing. I think we need to, obviously, I want to put this out first, though. And if I'm speaking out of turn, I want somebody to shut me down. But I hope I speak for the council in that whatever's been done in the past is past. But when we put people on these boards and we approve them and we put them in places for them to serve, and they take the time to do so, I think we need to not only empower them, but help them in any way we can, and not just be a council that's just going to say, well, we're going to do whatever we want to do, and basically it really doesn't matter, because then I've sat on an EDC like that was not very functional, and you question, why am I even sitting here? I mean, why am I wasting my time? So I think first off, we want to make sure that we are allowing you guys to brandish your own ideas. I mean, I don't want it to always just come from us, okay? This is your area of expertise, right? Yes, we have the ultimate say-so in it, but I think a lot of the real ideas and the thought processes, that's where we rely on the EDC. That's where we want you guys to give us some guidance and things like that. I mean, it's easy for us to go back and look at the plan and go, hey, you know, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, and that's number 3, so I would like number 3 to be number 2. But, I mean, you've had a chance now to kind of hit the ground, get an idea. I do believe we want to help even existing businesses, but we don't want to enable them. I don't think we need to be sending money out the door all the time. I mean, we can help them in many ways, other than just maybe writing them just a check.
Yeah.
But we have some, I mean, there's some really cool things happening. I don't know, the new retail center where the old Restoration Church used to be, and HTO, and obviously there's a lot of things going on. The new Whataburger, and now we've got Soul Man's, and so we've got some things going on. And so I'd like to hear more about actual specifics from you guys. And then, how is the retail coach working? How is that working out for you? Are you able to mesh some of those ideas? Are those
Sure.
Is that still helpful? Is that still a viable product and tool for you guys and things of that nature? I mean, that to me, I mean, I can read the stuff, but I'd kind of like to hear your thoughts first, and then I think it's easier for us to have.
Okay, I mean, I can
I
continue.
don't want to speak for anybody.
I can certainly continue to present here. I've got, but it's going to be kind of in line with here. So if anybody just wants to, I'm going to just weave. And if somebody just wants to stop me, if you have questions or comments, we can write those down. I'll take your 2 questions first. If anybody's heard me speak at any of they always ask me to get up and say 5 minutes worth of stuff at chamber events and such. I believe that in a community like Gun Barrel City, business retention expansion is a key component to economic development. Again, it is a lot less time, effort, resource, money to keep and expand the businesses we have than to go out and recruit other businesses. Now, the last place I want to go to make that happen is our pocketbook. Okay, they're already here, but they do have challenges. They've got hurdles. They've got plans. They've got facing an environment where capital is tight, human capital is tight, and then obviously anytime you're dealing with a city, there's challenges. I mean, we have certain standards that we're going to hold them to, and as a business owner myself, I don't always like them or understand them, right? But a lot of the resource that I offer businesses that are already in town is hand-holding. That's number 1. Keeping lines of communication open. But we also have other tools that are out there. We've got Texas Pace Authority out there. We've got local banks that would like to invest money, or some of them emphasize investing money in the local community. There's the Small Business Development Center that's very active in looking for tools. There are chamber organizations and other civic organizations they can get involved in for networking, support, peer counseling, things like that. But if we have to, and there's one coming to you tonight that is an expanding business locally that we're going to be asking to do a matching grant for. And so all of those tools are in our toolkit to reach into. So I hope that answers some question about BRNE, and that will always be emphasized here. Now, well, I'll get to that. As far as the retail coach goes, I look at the retail coach a couple of different ways. The first way that I look at them is just from a strict math problem standpoint. We have to go out and tell our story. Now, I am trying to guide them to tell our story a little bit differently than they've told it in the past. So the easiest thing for them to do is go out and pull the demographics for Gun Barrel City. We know how many people shop at Walmart. We know how many cars drive down the road. We know how many cell phones hit their hip at Casey's. They can track all that stuff and give us the data to help tell our story about Gun Barrel City. That's not really our story in the marketplace. I use words like sexy, like sell the sizzle. When you go out into the marketplace and you're talking to some of the users that I'm talking to, the national chains that don't know Gun Barrel City from a hole in the ground, you got to paint them a picture about what they're getting themselves into by coming here. I'll just, without giving you the brand, it is a brand that y'all will do backflips over if they decide to come here, and I will too. They are rolling out and getting ready to announce a Kaufman location and an Athens location. And so I sit down with them, and I actually sent them 6 sites yesterday where I say, Kaufman's its own market and Athens is its own market. And Gun Barrel City is the lake market that fills a hole between those two markets. So when you're looking at Gun Barrel City, the 7,000 people that live here aren't sizzle. But the 60,000 that live and come around the lake are, that swells up to, maybe 250,000 people on a summer weekend, right? And so they help tell that story, backed up with data. And me and the mayor were on a call today where we're looking at pulling other data into that from a public safety perspective that also helps tell that story. And it just backs up what we already know. Okay, so that's one thing from the retail coach. If you're gonna go pay a consultant to a la carte put all this information together, you're gonna spend more than a retail coach is charging you for a year's worth of consulting work. In addition to that, though, what Retail Coach does is we're getting ready to go to Retail Live down in San Antonio, or ICSC Red River, which is usually in Dallas. It's in San Antonio this year. But they're going to have 10 meetings with me set up on the conference floor, where I can go to their booth rather than spend the $8,500 or whatever ICSC is charging for a booth. But I can have a table and a booth and some marketing material right there with preset meetings on the floor. Now, I can't tell you I'll come back with a deal closed on that. I've done one in 5 years of doing this. I've actually only done one deal on the floor. But that one deal pays for Retail Coach for a long time. So that's the other aspect is we get representation at some of these national events. And the other thing is the other contacts that they have, that they're just out in the marketplace, what do you call that, market intelligence, where they know what's going on in the market, either locally, regionally, or nationally. They know who's moving, who's shaking, who's interested, who would be interested in a market like ours. If you were going to go try to pay for all that stuff, you'd pay at least double what they cost. So I look at it as a cost-benefit analysis, math problem. So does that answer the question about the Retail Coach? I'm high on the Retail Coach. I think y'all were smart to bring them in. I don't think they're representing any other cities around you. So maybe Terrell's closest. Maybe. I don't know. So there's my spiel on those two questions. What I was going to get into about the 2020 comp plan, I think is really good. Really good core principles of philosophy. I love the idea of trying to maintain what you are, because that's part of your story, while growing the underlying things that make economies healthy. Okay? I like the idea of balanced, diverse, market-driven growth. One of the things I think about it is I believe that economic development here in Gun Barrel City would benefit from elevating the idea of destination creation. And I'll get into some of that here very quickly. And then it also talks about using retail leakage analysis to guide decision making. Does everybody understand retail leakage analysis?
That's where people are going outside of our community.
Yeah. So you got so many people shopping, or that the universe of people that would shop in Gun Barrel City are spending X amount of dollars on groceries. Well, how many grocery dollars is Gun Barrel City capturing? Any gap that's there tells the story about whether another grocery store is needed. So if they want to spend money on groceries but don't, why? Is that because they don't have a location to spend it on? Usually that's the case. Sure. There's certain things you're not going to be able to close the gap on, just because the people that sell those goods aren't interested in your community for whatever reason. Population usually.
Let me ask, do you have an idea of what those gaps are now, though?
Well, I just
in the
said one.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
But I mean-
but restaurant, you have quite a bit of gap in restaurant. You have some gap in hard goods, retail, and that's one of those areas that, say, I don't know. I mean, Neiman Marcus isn't coming here to sell shirts anytime soon because you just don't have the gravity. So people will still continue to drive to, I don't know where a Neiman Marcus, Galleria to buy that type of clothing, right? You're just going to lose some of that.
Sure.
But there is some. Those are the main things. Family entertainment is a big leakage area here. Grocery is a big leakage area. Restaurant is still a leakage area.
That's impressive.
That's awesome.
So,
That's-
which we all know intuitively, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can drive around and know that. Any time spent here at all, you know that. So, but that should guide our decisions. So as I'm looking at that, and the other thing Retail Coach does is well, they'll do it for me when I ask them to, but generally, I think it's part of the contract. Once a year, you get all that data. So,
Okay.
Well, they give us that data, but can we give them data to put out about us? Or,
like what?
or you were saying that there's that you were trying to bring people here because it's, you're serving the lake. So can you, it's not just Gun Barrel that you're pulling from other places, or can we feed that to them for them to put out, or
Well,
they
we
just-
can, but when they're in the market, they have to maintain their own credibility. That's how they keep.
Okay.
That's how they keep clients and users put together. And so they're not going to go out and tell a story they can't defend. What I'm trying to get them to do is understand the story that I'm trying to tell and have them pull the data to support that.
Okay.
So, in other words, if I call them on a random Tuesday in December and I say I need to know, how much money was spent at Walmart, it's not going to be very high. It's not going to give them the ability to tell that story. So what I need to do is go back and say, I want you to pull the average amount that was spent and then the highest days spent. And that's the data that I want to use. So there are companies out there that don't even have market research companies. They say if Walmart's there, we'll go there. So, because they know Walmart spends a bunch of money to figure out where to put stores. So, were you going to say something?
Well, so recently, just earlier this year, Kroger began delivering to this area, and I think it only lasted about 3 months because it wasn't financially feasible for them to continue to do that.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, because I feel like there were a lot of people out here utilizing that delivery service, is there a way to pull those numbers, know how many people were using Kroger delivery and use that information to try to lure another grocery store to come here?
That's a great question that I've never even thought to ask. So,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
That is a great question. I'll find that out. That's interesting. Yeah. First, I didn't know Kroger delivered and then stopped delivering.
They did.
Maybe for 3 months. I was so excited. I was thrilled.
When they started closing the stores.
Yes.
But they were getting them out of the warehouse out of South Dallas.
Yeah, they were delivered from the warehouse, not from the store.
Yeah.
I believe it was coming from Forney, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
They're
Yeah, I do.
Distribution.
That's a great question. Let's table the retail coach discussion for now because we're on a tight time
Yes, we
frame.
are.
We have
Sure.
30 minutes left, and I want to get to near-term priorities, long-term priorities, and then the organization. So, just my spiel about near-term priorities. So, in no particular order, other than this is a lump of what I see are priorities. We just talked about retail leakage data. That should inform our recruitment. I've already talked about BR&E. That is always going to be on the near-term priority list. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk about is destination-driven projects. Okay, I want permission, I guess is what I'm asking for, even though that's probably not the right word. We talked about it some in the interview process, but I believe that destination creation is a game changer in economic development here. I call it, you'll hear me use the term secondary economic driver, where, no, I can't draw a straight line and say, if I bring somebody to a lawnmower race, it's worth X amount of dollars. I mean, we can get that data. But what we all, I hope, understand is that the more people that drive through Gun Barrel City, the more people are going to stop and spend money somewhere. Okay? So we have some underutilized opportunities that are called out in the comp plan that are you were trying to flush them out in the 2024 plan. But I don't think we've moved far enough on that. So I want to get moving on some of this stuff so that when we sit down here next year, we can say we've hit X benchmarks. Okay. Now, some of that stuff, when you're talking about this stuff, it's hard to quantify sometimes. So it's more about what's the other? Not quantitative and qualitative. The analysis of it is more qualitative. Like, you'll know it when you see it. You'll know we're moving there when we see it. I talked about a couple of things in the interview, and I'm wide open for ideas. This is why I was glad to hear the mayor talk about we have a good board, and we do, and we have a good creative community we ought to tap into. We ought to tap into where it makes sense. But if you're just leaving it up to Charles, I still think that some sort of marketing effort around youth fishing at the lake. We're pumping money, or we have pumped some money into the UIL bass fishing tournament. Well, we ought to be leveraging that. Instead of events, we ought to talk about environments. Like, we want to create an environment where when people think of youth bass fishing, they think of Cedar Creek Lake, which makes them, I don't care where on the lake they're thinking of. If they need to go buy something, they're coming here. Right? I think we can all agree on that. The lawnmower races. We are supposedly going to be named the lawnmower racing capital of Texas. We need to tap into the equity that comes with that. Okay? That's another thought, is to go really try to develop a sponsorship and marketing program around a strength we already have. I keep, if you find me candidly, and we're in a workshop, so I can say this, is I want our lawnmower racetrack to be the Talladega of lawnmower racetracks. Sure. Right? I don't envision chain link. I envision paneled walls with sponsorships. I don't envision people bringing their lawn chair up. I envision grandstands. I don't envision porta potties. I envision built-in bathroom. Stuff like that is the way my mind works. Now, it takes money that none of us have. But Still's got it, and John Deere's got it, and Bad Boy's got it.
Yeah.
So I would like to spend some time going out and digging some of that up if we can, if it's really out there. And the other thing that's on my mind as far as destination creation is the EDC owns 60 acres just north of our park. I would like to engage somebody in looking at a way to turn that into youth tournament fields of some type, whether it's baseball, softball, whether it's soccer, or something else. It's right by our park already. It's land we own already. It does take some money. But when I was analyzing this at my last gig, it's powerful to bring people here. And having a kid that's been involved in this world, and being a family that's been involved in this world, there aren't enough of them. I mean, there aren't enough places for kids to play youth sports. And the amount of money that's pumped into this stuff is ridiculous. So I'd like to see at least what we're dealing with out there. Get surveys, get topo surveys, and see a pencil put to paper. That's going to cost a little money to seed.
Now, what exactly does that look like? I mean, because I'm not very knowledgeable about youth sports. We were not a very youth sports family. I mean, we already have the soccer field out there, and we have some baseball diamonds out there that are very well maintained at this point. So, like, why
Tournaments
would
are so different. I did grow up in the youth baseball
You have one
field.
baseball field and one softball field.
But those are just practice fields. You're not going to get, you get one group, two groups of people. When you're talking tournaments, I mean, I've hosted tournaments, and you're talking hundreds of people come from everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
once youth sports drive to, tournament champions are in Dallas and they have to use 6 to 8 different complexes.
Yeah.
So we just bring, so tournament play is what he's talking about, right? Tournaments.
Yep.
You could do
So
stuff
what
back.
does a facility like that look like? I would have, so you'd have your bathrooms and like indoor spaces for people to relax in between games and.
It could get to that.
No, that'd be not a big place to have that. No, you sweat it out in the heat, you freeze in the winter. You bring your own little
Well, that's
called
not
buddy
your
heater,
destination,
buddy
though, is
heater
it?
over there.
It's more about what they do away from the field.
Okay.
It's, Lauren played softball for 12 years. And when we would travel in between games or overnight games, the hotels, the restaurants, we
The
never,
local stores, retail.
we paid thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for her to play.
Okay.
But the money that we spent on hotels, restaurants, even stopping at the grocery stores, CVS's, Walgreens, it wasn't a, hey, we're done for the day. No, we're just getting started.
And the
'Cause we gotta
tournaments are
stop
like-
here.
And a lot of times those teams, we had 3 games a day. You know what I'm saying? And throughout the whole entire day. So you're hanging out, everybody's bringing Gatorades and drinks and
Yeah.
fruits and, just hanging out or whatever. And it just
So we
brings
would
in-
need other things to do in the community because.
So that's the idea.
Okay.
So it's like a chicken and egg thing. If we're bringing, so you take, to answer your question, it can look like anything you want it to look like. What I'm talking about is would be a phased in approach where we basically go out there with grass fields and say you did 4 baseball fields. 4 baseball fields out there can host a tournament of 16 teams. Each one of those teams has 12 players and 2 coaches, let's just say. They're going to average 2 other people per group. So I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head, and I shouldn't have used 12. I should have used 10. So call it 30 people per team are traveling times, what did I say, 16? There's 500 people coming into Gun Barrel City that are going to play Thursday. Well, a lot of our games in the summer are, we'll just call it Friday, Saturday, and then bracket play on Sunday. So teams are generally guaranteed 3 games during that. So 500 people a weekend come in town. That's on 4 fields. Now, we have 60 acres. Clover Fields, you got to figure, what did I hear? Is it 3 acres per field, roughly? Including parking and facilities and everything else. 3 acres per field. Put 20 fields out there, do the math. I'm not going to try to do it all right now. What I'm looking for is some kind of guidance on, am I on solid ground going and working on this?
Well, and I'll say something else that you just touched on, destination-driven projects, and we're trying to build on things that we already have and that we're good at. Well, to state the obvious, we have a brand new community center. Okay, now this is an opportunity for the community center to be doing some project for just a lot of those kids, because I remember my brother and sister, they could have cared less what I was doing on that field, right? And mom and dad are trying to occupy them. Well, now you have a place where you can have some other things, and it opens up opportunities for the community center, which is what we have right now, and it's a jewel, but we need to use it more. So I think a deal like that is really I think it's been, but I'm also in that industry.
Right.
But I also know that even when times were tough as a young family, I spent a lot of money on my kids and did without on my own.
Yep.
The youth sports, everybody laughed at me, but it's huge. It's a very, very big money.
Yes, it gives us a story to tell, other family entertainment options. It makes, it's going to make sense for us to get involved in some sort of truck yard project at the park anyway. It gives me the story to go out and tell the hotel brands that they need to be here. Because you're right, in the beginning, people are going to be looking for short-term rentals, or they're going to be staying in another town that has a hotel room for them. You're right. But that's how you develop the economy over time, though. Eventually, nobody wants to stay 30 minutes from the field they're going to be playing at. They want to stay right next to it. But again, basically what I'm talking about is, I'm not saying my idea is the be-all, end-all. I'm saying these are the types of ideas that I think we want to cultivate to develop a destination here. So those are really short-term priorities that I really want to be working on. I said retail leakage data, that's directly to recruitment. BR&E is always gonna be a part. Destination-driven projects, I believe, are incredibly important. We'll get back to that in a second. Longer term, 18 to 36 months. What did I say there? Oh, I put that in the wrong place. Okay. Longer term, 3 years. Y'all had increased light industrial, increased social media, increased broadband, formalizing the regional mayor entity, which I think has happened, hasn't it, the mayor? Pier 334, which is still moving along. Some of these things y'all have really addressed and made a lot of headway on. We'll continue to do that, although I don't see myself spending a ton of time on really any of that except the retail part. And going into the retail part, most of y'all have heard me say, again, I try not to think small, like Solomons is great, but that's a one-off project. I want to see some master plan retail centers. I have sent a few developers land up and down 334. Some of it is obvious, some of it's not as obvious. But those are longer term conversations. That's why I put them in a 3-year strategy. And the other part, the one thing I do want to have in a written plan is I would like to see our retail corridor expand east, past the Gun Barrel Lane.
I would really love to see an outlet mall right there on 175. I think that would be an incredible place, and it would be an incredible draw for people to come shopping out here. You know, like having something like the Allen outlet malls, like right at the edge of Gun Barrel City.
I agree, and that goes into more destination as well. That actually crosses both. So I'll go down that road and explore that. I'm glad you said that too. The experience I've had with outlet malls has been shut down pretty quickly because of radiuses.
Sure.
But out here, it's a little bit different story.
Yep.
Another thing in here, we got less than 20 minutes left. A couple other things. Measures of success. Sales tax revenue is a primary scorecard, but it's not the only metric. Again, I think some of the things that I've talked about here are you'll know it when you see it kind of things, or we need to do this more often and be redirected. That's one thing. Capital deployment. Okay, we have historically done grants and loans. Okay. Grants, I get. We'll do grants that make sense, whether they're reimbursement grants or whether they're enticing grants. There has been a lot of discussion, and it's going to come up again tonight, around loans. Okay? When I sat in that chair and pulled up the loan portfolio, everything on the books is 10 years at 2%. And it was my understanding when I was hired, there was, I considered it a mandate to change up that loan portfolio to be stronger collateral, shorter terms, higher interest rates. I haven't gotten consensus from my board on that. And as a matter of fact, this last board meeting where we approved an incentive that's going to come in front of you, there was a lot of discussion and a failed motion around a 5% loan. Nobody made a motion. Did we make a motion for a 2% loan?
Yes.
That failed.
3 to 3.
We had 2 motions failed then.
Yeah. The 2% was the tie.
Yeah, okay.
It failed
Okay.
as a tie.
Failed as a tie. Okay. So we had a 5% option, a 2% option. What passed was a 4% option. And I just don't know where to go. I don't know what I can bring to you for approval on loans. And so that's why I put capital deployment and focus down here. It was mostly around the loans. I think I've got a good feel for how we want to deploy capital around grants and reimbursement grants. But I mean, here I've got, without bringing up anybody specifically, let's say I have a strong borrower, strong company history, good collateral.
I got a couple questions when we're talking about that. So like, I know the EDC, it's not about making money, but it ain't about losing money, and you have operation cost.
Yep.
So do you know what the operation cost is of the EDC?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, it's in the budget, but sure.
Right, and then the money that we loan out comes out, I'm assuming, what's in the savings accounts, right? And so do you know what the interest rates on the savings accounts?
Well, I want to talk about that too. We have
So
several.
those things come into play, I think, when you talk about giving a loan, so taking money out of somewhere, you know what I'm saying, and giving that money. Am I getting the same return or less or more than what I had before?
Yeah.
Like I said, I still have operation costs, which I know that's spent in a different way, but it still needs to be taken into consideration when you're doing loans, because we're not making money, but we're not here to lose money either.
Is that true though? Is that really?
Well,
true?
no,
Think
it's
about
not.
what
It's
you
not
said.
really, because
The only
we
reason
are
I asked
times that we
that-
do spend
yeah.
money with no return.
Yeah, that's
For
a
sure.
that's a rhetorical
Yes, it is, because
question.
you're doing an investment.
The other is, how do you factor return? So we are getting the 2%, but we're also getting a user who is doing taxable sales, and that comes back to us as well. You know, you take the agreement that y'all approved last time. It was 7 years at 5%. Strong borrower, great reputation, always does what they say they're going to do. Been in business 50 years, but it was a very, very aggressive incentive package.
Yeah.
And so that warrants, I think, a worse loan for the user. Let's put it that way.
I think it has to be like anything else. I think we have to allow ourselves a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
I think if
I
you have a borrower that's got strong financials and things of that nature, we're not as worried. We're maybe not as looking for as much collateral, but we've all sat on this dais and listened to the horror stories of some of the things we're dealing with now, and that we just want to prevent that. And I'm not trying to, because I'm like you. I'm also a small business owner, but at the same time, it has its challenges, right? So you maybe need a little more collateral, and they maybe need a different type of interest rate. But I think we have to allow ourselves on that side of things some flexibility on an as is and as needed basis, and that's where you can bring things to us and say, "Hey, I've got this. I'm not really sure about it. This is what I'm thinking." And then run things, and now we're really communicating together as a group, and really having a joint ventureship in all this, and so we know what's happening a little bit better. But I think it's got to be on an individual basis.
Mayor, I want to piggyback on that for about 3 minutes, and then I want to spend the last 10 minutes talking about the office over there.
Okay.
And day to day. So going into that, I want y'all called out committee structures here on the 2024 plan: business retention expansion, large business, business retention expansion, small business, festivals and events, and workforce development. I think there's value to all those committees. I want to structure them a little bit differently. We don't have to make that decision right now. What I'm looking for, and I'll go in reverse order based on what you just said. I want a destination creation committee. You talked earlier tonight about utilizing the board for their ideas, for their creativity, for their willingness to serve, for their care about the community. And I want to engage these committees in destination creation. So it's not about putting on an event, which creates a lot of work for a volunteer. It's about how do we cultivate an atmosphere that events just happen and people come here. Destination creation. I would like to put together a banking and finance committee where we take 3 people from the board and we look at our interest rates. You brought up interest rates. We have the majority of our money is in an account making nothing, 0.1%. There's another tier of money that makes about 2.5%, and then the STAR account, which was a very smart move years ago, but it makes about 5%. But not all of our money is in there. Like, why isn't all our money in there? I haven't felt like my legs are under me good enough to make that call, so I want to put together a committee to give me some support with that. More than one eye is looking at it. Lastly, an incentive review committee, where basically we sit around a table like this with less than a quorum of the board, and we just mull over a deal. I see Mr. Mosier just walked in. He's coming in front of you tonight. We brought him in about a month ago with 3 of the board members, and they interviewed him. They evaluated him. They sort of picked his deal apart 6 ways from Sunday. We kicked him out. They made a recommendation to me. I took it to the board, kind of, and they made a decision. But that incentive review committee, I think, is kind of, when you say us,
Yes.
I would like to see us engage these guys for their, it's not expertise, but their opinion, I
Are you
guess.
talking about like maybe like a couple of members of the EDC and a couple of members of council?
Could do it
to-
that way. There's nothing that prevents, there's nothing that says you have to be on the board to be on the committee.
Okay,
So it just can't be a quorum of either.
gotcha.
So maybe we do that. But again, I'm running out of time. I'm just trying to get a lot of information out now. And like Dr. Smith said, we can circle back up if we need
Sure.
to, because we are going to run out of time, I think. Anyway, you put me in a room and get me to talking, we're going to run out of time. That's just a given. Factor that in. Okay. And then the last thing coming off here is just the office. Like, how do y'all want to be reported to? I'm the executive director. I told you in the interview process, and if anybody comes and pulls on the door, there's as good a chance as not that if I'm doing my job, I'm not going to be there. Now, and then we have Stephen, who mans the front desk. We flex a day, which he and I have worked out, hopefully manning that desk, but we also have conferences, we have vacation, we have sick, we have, which he's sick today. I was here, but I had a meeting outside the office in the morning, and then at lunchtime, nobody's going to be there on a one person shop. And so there is, how do you want to be reported to? There's, what are your expectations around the office? And then again, I guess a jumping off point from the earlier discussion you were trying to start is the reporting structure. I have an understanding of the reporting structure, but is that something that's going to stay steady or something that needs to be looked at?
I think, we have, each department head gives a report, at council. I don't know if y'all want it monthly or if you want it quarterly, or, that's a discussion that we can have. But I think making yours a part of,
Yep.
I think tonight, Chen's making one. I know
Yep.
Mike's making one. I think that's more than adequate in that, but I love the communication. Emails are great.
Emails are great.
Yes, and so the more
I think quarterly would be really, really good.
Right.
Unless
Agreed.
you have something come up that's really important that needs to be discussed. And then we can,
Sure.
Sure.
Now,
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I think that's a good
the
idea.
one thing about economic development is the confidentiality.
I was just say some things he can't say.
Sure.
So it depends on what really is he going to.
Yeah.
You say I get up there and I went to 6 meetings and 5 things and I've got some things in the works and you know what I'm saying. So it's a lot
Some
of
things,
it's
some
a
stuff,
lot of
some
nothing.
junk, some.
Okay,
I was
so,
busy.
But you were okay.
Yeah.
You talked about the thing in Kaufman and the thing in Athens. Okay,
Yeah.
well that whets our appetite a little bit. Now
Yeah.
we know that there's something that's
Right,
pretty
right,
viable
right.
that we're at least.
So maybe
at least
quarterly
on
there
the-
might be something that you can talk about.
Well, I'll announce it as soon as I can.
Sure. Of
course.
But I think it's important for you to know that I am in meetings, understanding that I can't always correlate meetings to outcomes.
Yes.
I'm going to go anywhere and talk to anybody that I think will throw a net for Gun Barrel City, and every now and again we'll drag it in and something will come with it.
Well, I think I speak for all of us too, that we want to be able to pick up the phone and go, hey, Charles, what's happening? Everything good? Is there anything that,
Yep.
that you need from us? I think, I don't want us to seem like we're an arrogant board or
Sure.
council at all, though.
Sure.
What can we, how can we help you? Is there anything we can do for you too?
Sure, and I just haven't reached out because really not yet.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
I've just gone to work, but I'm not afraid to one-on-one. I'll share brands, I'll share whatever, as long as there's an air of confidentiality
I think
and
if everybody knows
understanding
they
that-
have an opportunity to visit with you like that,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
As far as manning the desk over there, Angie and I had talked about this in a one-on-one a couple months ago. I know that there is a staffing agency in Athens. I mean, if y'all are both gone at a conference or, you know, somebody's sick or whatever, you know, we definitely want somebody in there answering the phones, or is there an answering service that we could recruit just to for the day-to-day operation?
Well, I don't know.
I would
they
also
could-
be, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm not sure if they can actually do the day-to-day, other than answering a phone and taking a message, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think if they come here, is there a note on the door that says go to the city hall?
There always is a
Right.
note on the door.
Okay, so they know to come to the city hall if they need anything. And then I guess the only thing to me would be is is your voicemail being updated. We're out of the office today, we'll return tomorrow. If you need immediate assistance, contact somebody. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know, I would almost, and I know this is probably too specific for here, but I'd almost rather explore not an answering service, but a forwarding.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to get it to I want every call I can get, and I want it to come right here.
Yeah.
Whether I'm here at the office or not. I'll take it or I think anybody, Rita has called me probably more than anybody. I'm right back to you if I don't answer, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think you can forward the number you have, I think, to your cell phone too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that, though.
No, but I think,
Got a 12-year-old?
What's that?
Got a 12-year-old?
Yeah, right. No, I've got a 16-year-old. But,
Rick might be able to help.
But is there anything else we need to talk about before we get out of here? I do think I want to put this together. I want to take it back to my board. I want to see if there's anything that we've missed here, and then maybe schedule something first quarter sometime.
I would just
not next
suggest-
month.
I would love to have like a joint workshop where your board is with our
Okay.
group.
They'll be happy to hear you
We're all
say
in the
that.
same room.
They
I
will
think,
be.
I think we had planned to do that after we had this meeting.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
His thing is when like I know he definitely has the room to do what you need to do. We was talking about that earlier. He
Yeah.
just wants to make sure that he's in the direction that we want him to go.
Right.
I
I think
like
in the
the way
past
that your mind is
he's
headed
had
at this
issues
point.
where
I do.
you think I'm on the same page, but evidently I wasn't even in the same book, but I didn't know it. Right?
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
So he just wants to make sure
Absolutely.
that we're communicating with him what we're looking for and what we're doing, and if he's not,
I like that
let
we're a
him
little
know.
more specific right now. I love that we're expounding on the youth fishing, the lawnmower, the youth fields, things of that nature.
Grocery stores,
Yes,
retail.
all that.
Yeah.
I think we're, now we're into some specifics.
Yes,
I
who
get all
knows where
those
it takes
things
us.
in the strategic plan, but it doesn't, I don't think that ever goes specific enough and,
This is
for us.
really good.
Yes,
Just
Okay.
recap.
Yeah.
It's all good.
yeah.
Okay, well, y'all have given me, I think, what I need. I'll go put the recording together as best I understand it, and we'll see what we can put together with the board.
We
Maybe
thank
the
you
next
for
one
your-
is with the board.
Any further questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank y'all, appreciate it. I'll talk to you here in a few minutes.
All right, great. Andy, can I give him this?
Yeah, we got like three. Hey, walk with me.
How'd that go? Good. Where did Keith go? Did you run Keith out?
Get up and leave.